Very warm welcome to all of you. It's so nice to see all of you back here. Don't know if you can hear the water dribbling in the background. I have a little water fountain here for the cats. Quite serene, but I hope it's not distracting in any way. Today, let's enter the practice with with an intention that we experience the practice, that we experience the meditation. Not paying that much importance to that function of listening, and turn it into one of experience today, which simply means you're free to move in any direction you want. Tune away from my voice and enter into that space that you are already familiar with, so that this practice, it brings us into a space that is very different from the one in which we live. Our personalities, our bodies, and our minds live in. Because have you noticed with this body that we inhabit right now, it has a beginning and an end. It will have an end at some point. And that goes for pretty much all of the relationships that we have around us, all with beginnings and endings. And that goes for almost everything we experience through our five senses, our homes. We were talking about moving into new places, new countries, new areas, new spaces. Change, beginnings, new beginnings, and the old ends. This intention that we are laying down about experiencing today's practice, it involves experiencing something that has no beginning, something that has no end. And just to put this into context, our bodies, they may live up to 80, 90, who knows? But this universe, this planet, the Milky Way, the galaxies, we now to a degree know that it all began with something called the Big Bang. It began, can you notice the word? It began with the Big Bang. And the universe, it continues to expand. And then scientists say that one day it will begin to contract again and it will return back to where it came. And so there would be an end. And we're, of course, talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of years, time that only began with the Big Bang, where space was created. In this practice, we tap into that space that is beyond time, with no beginning, with no end. That who some teachers, teachers who claim to have experienced it, assure us is who we truly are, with no beginning, no end. Just free, a space from which all of these different galaxies emerged. And from these galaxies, different systems, different planets, and within this planet called Earth, different forms, each and every one of us, a different form, a different aspect of this one being, this one consciousness, this one awareness. Every animal, every insect, every form of plant life, every grain of sand and every pebble, one of the multitude of forms given to this one being, this being who you are, this being that I am, which is probably why many of the scriptures simply refer to it as I am that I am. I ring the bell now, and we even step away from these words, which can sometimes activate thought, especially when we listen. But now we're no longer that interested in even listening, because it is about to turn into an experience. And it's not a very complicated experience. It's just an experience where we experience the present moment. Here comes the bell. And so don't take this practice too seriously, because very often when a meditation begins, you're supposed to adopt a particular posture, you're supposed to look very serious and solemn. But give yourself permission to experience this present moment, whether through your eyes, if you choose to open your eyes, looking at what the present moment looks like. Listening to the present moment through your sense of hearing, through your ears. Notice how simple this practice really is. And I don't know how close you are to the kitchen, or if you have a perfume or incense burning you, but the sense of smell and all that your sense of smell presents to you as a part of this present moment. A sense of taste, which may or may not be that relevant, but maybe it's the aftertaste or even the absence of any tastes whatsoever on your tongue, within your mouth. And then the sense of touch. And today you can begin with the nostrils, with the nose. Because what you're experiencing within and around your nose and your nostrils and your nasal passage is the interaction between air and skin. Notice how sensitive the skin is within, how sensitive the cells within the nasal passage are, where this breath is invisible, undetectable to the other senses. The sense of touch picks up on it. The cells within your nasal passage, they tell you what direction the breath flows, occasionally inwards and other times outward. What else can you tell about the breath? And one thing you will notice is that your mind, especially at the early parts of a practice, your mind will still wander away. It might be thinking about something that happened this morning or over the past few days, or perhaps an upcoming bill or something like that from the future. But the secret to this practice is to not worry when your mind wanders away, not chastise yourself, not scold yourself, not be hard on yourself. Because this practice is really about being here in the present moment, which also means releasing the last breath, the last 10 or even 100 breaths. It doesn't matter if the mind drifted away and wandered off. And the bell can often help in this. You can use the bell as a call back into attention, back into the present moment. And so the breath that you're taking in at this moment becomes the first breath, the only breath. And the same would apply for the breath that is being released, the only breath. You can use the in-breath to represent a new beginning, and the out-breath to represent a complete releasing and letting go. So each time you breathe out, you release a little bit more, because it's quite likely that we can't release all of it at once. And you don't really have to search for things to get rid of. Whatever comes into your mind, whatever enters into your mind, just release that. Just let it go. Just breathe it out. And that would be accompanied by an in-breath, an inhalation, a new beginning, a new start. And you will find each intake of breath being experienced as even lighter, and lighter with less baggage, less accumulations, less stories. Until soon you begin getting tiny little glimpses of this present moment, of this precious, precious, one and only present moment. And you breathe in a little bit deeper, because once you've started to get glimpses into the present moment, it's always a nice moment to anchor ourselves. The same way a ship casts down its anchor, or in one of those strong winds that we're experiencing here in mainland UK, you hold on to something to stabilize yourself so that you don't get carried away by the strong winds. Cast your anchor. And what better thing to anchor ourselves onto than this planet underneath us? This beautiful, incredible planet that has supported us and all of our ancestors and all of our dear teachers. And this anchor, it can be your breath. You can visualize your breath as a light. Currently, it inhabits the space around your body and it's filled with light. And so, even though the nasal passage is perceived as being dark, you now, as you breathe in, you draw in this light which infuses the breath. And this light, it moves down your chest. And each part of the body that this light, this breath touches, it illumines, it brightens all of the tiny vessels within the lungs, spreading this light, spreading this breath throughout your body. And with the next breath, the breath moving deeper down towards the stomach, so that you feel this light, this awareness reaching throughout your stomach region, where all of the digestive processes take place, and where a portion of the breath also winds up, as you notice when you breathe in, the stomach wall rising up, the skin around the stomach stretching. As you breathe out, everything contracting, the stomach wall falling. And then you breathe out, and then when you breathe in, now the breath moving down into your pelvic region and all the way down through your legs. Just imagine with your mind's eye your whole body lighting up, because that is in fact what is happening, because this breath, this oxygen, it is reaching every cell within your body, but now it is charged, it is fully charged with light particles, that very source of life on our planet. And when you read some of those strange, I put the word strange in inverted commas, those books like Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, he speaks of at least two people, two saints who he meets during his travels, who did not need to consume food. One was in India and the other one somewhere in France, I believe, a Christian saint. And when he asked them what their secret was, how they could sustain their bodies without food, sometimes without water, their answer was simple. They said, "We simply understand how to convert light, the energy of light, into our bloodstream. And so it no longer needs to go through the intermediary of food and leaf and plants and seeds and all of that. And so invite this light that infuses your breath to move through every cell within your body, nourishing it, balancing it, healing it, feeding it. And now the anchoring part, we haven't even started. Now the next breath, finding the center of gravity within our body, lowering itself into the earth, through the chairs and the cushions underneath us, and then traveling deep into the crust, into the center of the earth. That part of this planet which is completely uncharted. Each breath inwards, reaching deep down into this life-sustaining planet. Yet a planet with a beginning and an end. But as we anchor ourselves into the present moment, we begin to discover, rather we begin to experience that which is beyond the comprehension of the mind, that which is beyond the comprehension of the five senses. That present moment that is being experienced by every star in our universe at this moment, every planet, every wild animal, every insect, every leaf, every grain of sand, every pebble, every boulder. And it goes on and on and on, all experiencing a present moment, the present moment, this present moment. And we, in this meditation room, we share the present moment together. We become one. All aspects of loneliness fading away, for there is no separateness within this space. There is no time within this space, and therefore no need to ever be anywhere other than where we find ourselves at this moment, on these seats, on these chairs, on top of this flooring, within these four walls. But just like the star experiences, just like the sun experiences a very specific present moment, a snapshot, if you like, from its perspective, each and every one of us experiencing a snapshot of this vast space called the present moment, where there is only kindness, for there is the absence of separateness. Where there is wisdom, for we no longer limit ourselves to only our own perspectives, but open ourselves to all that is, allowing our neighbors to act as they choose to, allowing our family members to be as they are, just for a brief moment, no longer attempting to control, but having an understanding, a knowing that in our own presence we create a field of influence around us. Which means words no longer need to be used, actions no longer need to be used, just presence. With its ability to transform. No longer seeing those around us as separate from these forms, which have a start and an end. No longer seeing their forms, which all also come with start and ends. Just experiencing it all as being without beginning nor end, as beingness, as consciousness, as awareness. Keep breathing. At least keep being aware of your breath, of the form that it takes as the light moves through your body, as it moves deep into the crust of the earth, anchoring you even more and more into the present moment. And that is possible simply because this is a space, this is a practice where there are no limits. The only limits that exist are the limits we create within our minds. And we only become more and more complete, more and more whole. Ultimately discovering that we were never incomplete. We were always here. From the start, from the beginning. And all that happened is just that we forgot. But now we remember. Now we know. And we sit and we breathe. And we arrive more completely in the present moment. And now I'm going to ring the bell to give you an opportunity to have a sip of water, to stretch, to move, to perhaps find a new posture, because we are here to be kind to ourselves. And sometimes it's so simple to be kind to ourselves. If there is a part of your body that is calling out for a little massage or touch, go ahead and adjust your postures, realign your bodies. And then within your mind's eye, continue to see your body as bathed in light. And now we'll move through a slightly different type of body scan where my voice will guide you towards different parts of the body. And up until this moment, let's assume that this light is contained within our body. And when we bring our attention to a particular body part, we'll simply allow that body part to dissolve so that the light merges into the light around us. So you can begin with the area, the space around the forehead, just the skin. Can you feel how tight or how soft the skin feels? Whether it's tense, whether it's relaxed. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no should not. Just exactly how you're finding it at this moment. Now the ringing of the bell to allow these borders to dissolve. So that the light that was once contained within your whole body, it begins to flow out of this region, merging into the light that's entering in through to our rooms, through our windows, maybe even electric bulbs, but all the light merging, no longer distinguishable. Are there any remaining pockets of tightness, having released, that are still contained within this region? Let yourself release. Just be kind to yourself. Nothing to do, simply being a kind and beautiful human being in a state of allowing. Allowing what? Allowing the present moment in its entirety. And now becoming aware of the scalp, maybe even the hair follicles, the sides of the head, the back of the head, containing this light, containing this bright, healing light that we breathed in at the beginning of this practice. And now, with the releasing of this bell, also releasing all of this light through these regions so that they too merge with the space that surrounds you. No longer distinguishable, all one. Relax the back of your neck and experience the freedom that that region within your skull and your skull now experiences. The brain free to be. This light bathing and moving through every neuron, every cell that makes up the brain. The brain that has almost everything to do with the way in which we experience our emotions. Simply because it is the brain that is the chemical factory. And this might be a good moment to simply understand the way in which our emotions work. Now use your mind, think about something beautiful, one of your favorite spaces on earth. It might be from the past. But look, this is one of the functions of the mind that we're getting to know. See how we can direct the mind in whatever direction we want to. And now we are consciously directing the mind to a moment, maybe in the near past or in the long gone past. There might be a place or a space that you really enjoyed. It might be a park, it might be a family home, it might be a beach, a holiday somewhere. For me, it might be I remember a beach, a deserted beach, where I stood and watched the sunset. The water was warm, the breeze was perfect, the sounds were perfect, not another person in sight. Notice the emotions that you experience as you bring out this visual, this memory. It's usually a pleasant emotion unless it was mixed up with something else that happened there, but then that's the mind wandering off. And then you bring it back to that happiest moment, or even choose a different one if that particular moment carried some baggage with it. But the key to this particular part of the practice is to understand that we experience emotions because of the way in which we filter the world around us through our thoughts. So, this body, which includes the brain, it does not have the ability to distinguish between the past and the present. And so, when you think about that wonderful, beautiful memory, you experience good, nice feeling emotions. And these nice feeling emotions, they're just simply chemicals being released within the brain. Now, I'm not going to ask you to think about unpleasant memories or difficult times, but that's what often happens to us when we think about fights and disagreements and traumatic events in the past. Again, our body does not have the ability to distinguish between thought and reality, and and it releases those other chemicals that get us ready to either fight or flee in fright. So when we notice that happening, we bring ourselves back into the present moment. And your present moment involves being surrounded by these incredible beings around you, these fellow practitioners, this comfortable seat upon which your body is on, probably not too far from the refrigerator where there is a nice quantity of food, where you have this security, where you have this privacy. So it's the present moment isn't that bad. It's actually quite perfect. And usually the present moment is perfect simply because you no longer compare it against anything else. You see the present moment for exactly what it is, the present moment. And then very gently you move this attention into appreciation. Oh, so this is what the seat, this cushion, this chair feels like. Oh, so this is what my clothing feels like. This is what the temperature feels like. And you step outside of those stories. And so in this practice, we learn how, in tapping into the present moment, we begin discovering that the same way in which we directed our mind to visualize that beach or whatever it is you visualized, you extract from your mind only those thoughts that are relevant to this moment. So that disagreement is not relevant right now, so you release it. But if I was directing you to your ears, bring your attention to your ears. You need information as to where you can find your ears, and that's contained within the mind. So you take that bit of information out. And then how do you know your ears are there if your eyes are closed? It's through sensations, isn't it? Inner and outer sensations, and then you begin to detect any movement in the air around you, the movement of air brushing against your ears, and that's relevant, but everything else isn't. And it is a practice because we practice releasing that which is irrelevant and bringing up that which is. And since we are at the ears, here's a ringing of the bell so that the light can move through your ears. Your ears can dissolve. And so the light spreading out through the side of your head. And now your face, bathed in this light. The light wanting to be released. And with the ringing of this bell, releasing it so that the skin dissolves, fades away, and the light, it moves through the space, through the room. No longer my face, no longer my head, experiencing the oneness. The formless, the space of kindness, the space of being. The light moving through the neck. Investigating the muscles, the nerves, the pipes within the neck that allow you to swallow and breathe. Releasing any tiny pockets of tightness, of stress, of concern, of worry that you may be holding, perhaps within your thyroid area. But this light now bursting, and with the with the ringing of this bell, releasing this whole surface, this whole area, so that it all feels light, literally like a feather. And now you're left with your shoulders and your arms and your chest. The ringing of this bell allowing us to dissolve these regions. You can surrender your muscles to the forces of gravity. You can surrender your bones to the forces of gravity. You can experience the intermingling between air and light molecules within your upper body and those around us. This whole room filling up with this light that is now brighter than the light that once was. You becoming the source of this light, no longer limited only to the light entering in through your windows and light bulbs, but you yourself becoming the very source of this light. Of kindness, of understanding, of wisdom, of beauty. And you also, it begins to dawn on you that every quality you once regarded as bad was simply, which was no different from darkness, which is now filled with light. So it was never bad. It was nothing to criticize ourselves about. It was simply a space where there was an absence of light, but now it is filled with light, with all of these qualities of being, of beingness, of consciousness, of awareness. Release an intention to that you would like any imbalances, any biological imbalances within your chest, within your upper body to resolve themselves. If your mind obeyed you, why would the body not obey you? This bell is to once again step beyond our past, beyond our histories, beyond what every doctor told us, what every magazine told us, what every TV documentary told us about our health. And simply return back to the intelligence we began with, the intelligence within every cell that makes up our body. And now we instruct it by releasing an intention that there be balance, that there be health, that there be healing, that there be kindness and harmony between all of these cells. And it's so much easier being in the present moment because there is no longer any identification with the past or fears about the future. For there is a releasing of the past, there is a releasing of the future, and there is only the present moment. Where the brain, the chemical factory, the producer of medicines, releases the perfect chemicals to bring these particular body parts back into balance. Our immune systems rising like a balloon rising from the deep, from the depths of the sea. Each bell allowing you to release the immune system. And sometimes we refer to it as a single immune system, but the immune system within each and every one of the trillion cells that makes up our bodies, all rising, this light enveloping the whole body, every organ, every nerve, every muscle, every ligament, the eyes, the inner parts of the ear, the brain, the teeth, the gums, the tongue, all the way down to the tips of the toes, bathed in this light. And now the bell that we may release all form and merge into this space within our rooms that merges into the space outside of our rooms, that space that seems to go on, sideways, upwards, downwards, in every direction, to the edges of the universe, if there is such a thing, which there isn't, in a universe that continues to expand. Bathing this whole planet, returning back to the planet all that it has shared with us, with our ancestors, with our teachers, recognizing our ability to share and coexist and sit and breathe and enjoy each other. No longer needing too much or too little, knowing that there is always enough, that there has always been enough. And now the final bell to mark the beginning of the true practice, that which will enable us to bring this presence, this awareness, this kindness, this consciousness with us as we experience the day unfold before and around us, from moment to moment and breath to breath. And now a final bell. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for joining in the practice. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Vinod.
Take care.
Thank you, Vinod. That was wonderful.
It's a pleasure. Hello, Frank. Hi.
Hi,
Good to see you.
I almost forgot.
You came. I missed you at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, how long does it take to realize this the true self? So I had half an hour left, so I just did it.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you joined us. That's the beautiful thing about these practices. You can pop in anytime, isn't it?
Thank you, everybody.
Have a beautiful day. Take care.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye bye. Love to all of you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.